We're going to do our very best to make you all superstars in the work that we're doing here. I mean, really, the reason that we are doing this is to project good ideas, good people, good businesses, good common sense practices, of which most of those are lacking, of course, within the corporate world. So, and I think it's interesting that most of us, I think all of us, have lived in and around corporates as well. So we kind of know, the psychology of these organizations and really how slow they are to change, take on new ideas. So anyway, what this event is about, I say it's a bit of a weird one, because we're actually trying to get feedback from an audience that is resistive to talking about this stuff in a kind of productive way. We have struggled to get bums on seats in the room. That's been a problem for this one, but we've got a lot of people outside of the room, which was a bit of a surprise. We thought that would be the other way around for a workshop, but there you go.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
So I don't consider this an ideal way, but it is a helpful way to get people signed up. I've seen this is to, not run it as a LinkedIn event, but just create a LinkedIn event for it because one, I've posted, right? We've been posting it, right? I posted it. But it's very different if you create it as a LinkedIn event, then I can actually go into my contacts, right, and invite specific people to it. And they're a lot more likely to accept that invitation and register. Now, maybe 30 to 40% of them actually attend, but they're much more likely to register.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I think we will do that moving forward, Jim, on the other sorts of events. The thing about this event is we want it to be as targeted as we could be of the sort of people that we're talking to. So we've been trying to talk to people that are decision makers that have actually got some level of interest in this, principally because we are trying to get feedback from this audience about their situations and where they've got to. So what I've done is, let me just put this on the screen for you, just to give you an idea of what the running order of this is, what we're looking at. So just a bit of intro. One is the fact that this is a workshop, not a talk shop. We're not really having this conversation to debate the points about neurodiversity or why it's important or what it is or how to use it. What we're talking about is how organizations, how corporations can move the dial on adoption of a neuro-inclusive and a diversity-inclusive culture in what they're doing, and actually really move towards a universal workforce. And so because of that, what we found out at CWS and ProcureCon this year is that organizations are looking for progress, not perfection. They want the next step in this, and they want to understand what that next step is. So again, we're not selling perfection with this, but we are trying to get this into a movement of an agenda that's a point-to-point agenda. The first point being where they are today and having the ability to measure it. The second point being where they want to get to next year. So a lot of this focus is on really next year's budget. We're not really looking for this year's budget, it's next year's budget we're interested in, and we're looking to actually get on the radar of that budget over the next 2 to 3 months. So really, this is a precursor of activity really for the work we're doing to actually start the conversation around budgets for 2024. Now, as part of that, what the work that comes out of this will be feeding into the thought processes that we put into that agenda. But really, hopefully in an hour and a half, we've got a time to go through a process of listening, sharing, coming up with some ideas, talking about the planning and execution, and talking about what action looks like. So we're going to put this into a structure. Now, this is sponsored by Simplify, which is one of the technology partners that we've got. They're not going to be really present on the day. We're very pleased that they put some money behind it to allow us to do it, so we will mention them. Gemma's not going to be in the room, but she is going to be on the call. Okay. In terms of the agenda then, quick introduction, and then we're going to go through these 4 steps: the priorities that people have as they see them, the progress that they feel that they've made, the challenges that they see on their horizon, and the remedies that they're looking to solve what they're doing. Okay, so as we're going through that, and I'll show you the panel that we've got. So we've got my good self and Erica. We've got Mike Clargo and Jonathan, who are two kind of change management consultants, and are very different guys to yourself, Rebecca. I mean, I think they come from slightly different angles. Mike is very much more an engineer of maturity modeling. Jonathan is a broader culture change kind of role, but not very key lined into this. But I think he's done a lot of these big projects on culture change. So it'd be interesting to see what his perspectives are. We've got Jodie. Erica, do you want to do the introductions from your side?
Yeah, so Jodie is a disability and inclusion consultant. She also has been developing a disability maturity model. Ritu is very similar, but works more around sort of the employee neurodiversity awareness and day-to-day tools to help them. Tanya is from Ernst & Young, and I've spoken to her about her job with the Neurodiversity Centre of Excellence, and it will be really interesting to hear her perspectives on what's worked within their organisation, what challenges they faced. And then I think, do you want to talk about Adam?
So Adam is basically a lead, a topic subject matter expert in the British Army to do with neurodiversity and neuroinclusion. Adam is dyslexic. Both his kids are also dyslexic. And one of them, from my experience, is probably got Asperger's as well. So really, he knows the subject quite well. But of course, the British Army is one of the most difficult and intransigent organizational structures to build this kind of thought process into, because of the age of it, the size of it, the scale of it, the norms of behavior that within it. So I think it's going to be interesting to have Adam's perspectives on the panel as well, in terms of what they're trying to do and how they're trying to do it and what their experiences are. And again, here we've got yourself, Jim, Rebecca, Kalpesh, Nick on the call today. So that's that side of the panel. It's a pretty strong panel. I mean, there's not a single person on here that isn't effectively top of their game. So we're really pleased to have such impressive people around the table. Now, when we go through the introduction,
Ritu will be joining us the latter half of this conversation, which is also why it's good to record this.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of the introduction, I've just got 3 slides that I'm gonna lay out. One is talking about the latest research from Gartner, which is focused around the initiative overload of HR, and the fact that we're trying to squeeze our conversation into a very busy landscape that's going on already within HR decision making. But I think there's a key point to this, and that is all of these things that Gartner is referring to are essentially their work streams, but they're not necessarily outcomes. So really, when we're looking at HR priorities, one of the things we are doing, we're going to invite you guys to give us commentary on, is we're building our conversation around 2024 priorities. And at the moment, we're keylined around 3, which is the organization of HR business structures, the adaptation of the function, and cultural health. So if we can squeeze cultural health into the 3, that would be great. And of course, what we're trying to do is to raise that debate, have that conversation, but also get people thinking about it. Because Jim, how long have we been talking about total talent in the industry? I don't know. It's got to be since I've known you. We've been talking about
10 plus years. Yeah, for sure.
How many people do you know actually do it, Jim?
No one's doing it. Everyone also has a different definition of it.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah. But no one's really doing it.
So, we've got to, I think one of the challenges is, if you've got something like this total talent phrase, and Rebecca, I'm not sure how familiar you are with that one, and Nick, but really, this is a kind of a concept that's failed, but it's failed for 10 years to the point that people have almost given up trying to come up with a new one. Are you with me? And this is a challenge, is very often when when you're looking at evolution of anything, of any idea, it's the jump off point is the problem. And at the moment, the jump off point for here is so muddy, and the conversation is so muddy. There's no clarity in terms of the starting point for this conversation. People are exhausted about talking about a subject that they've never solved for 10 years, you know. So we've got to bring that back to the table, but hopefully we can bring that back in a fresh way. So I put together this, which is very much based around the Otto Scharmer thinking, which Rebecca, you might well know about. And so really it's about understanding you've got to tend the soil. Somebody's got to tend the soil to get the quality of the soil up to produce the crops that everybody's looking for. And in this case, we're talking about output of work. We're talking about customer experiences, brand values being honored, knowledge being developed, innovation being achieved from the workforce. And the challenge is to do that is you've got to do all this stuff in the middle to serve the stakeholders, the workers and the company. And the inputs that we're looking for are top talent and diversity coming in the other end. But we know that unless we tend the soil, we're not going to fix that, and we're not going to attract the talent. And to move this forward, we've got to get an understanding of what that point-to-point journey is, because as soon as you go into all of the detail of this conversation, it's lost. There are just too many conversations in too many areas, and we find that we can't move the conversation forward. So really, the obvious question to somebody that's got this job is, where are you today, and what's your goal tomorrow? Where are you looking to get to in 2024? And have a sensible conversation about it. Hopefully we can achieve that during the course of 2024, but hopefully we can also start that conversation in 2023. And the point about Hernandez Cortez, of course, is he burned his boats when he got to the New World because he did more things than just one thing. He decided that he was going to prevent people from going backwards. And of course, if you just make one change, people always think that they can go back. So we want to remove that safety blanket and say, we're going to do a lot of different things to your culture, to the point that you will never be able to go back because you won't be able to unpick it again, you know. So that agenda's got to be developed by organizations, and hopefully we can help them to achieve that. Again, this is a discussion document. I'm going to throw it out there for people to debate and see some progress on. But we want progressing the conversations around the structure of management, how this function needs to be improved, and what the objectives need to look like for next year. So that's really just a basic introduction. And then we're going to jump into the questions. Now, the way we structured these is we've got a panel for each of the questions. So we've also got a set of questions. So we're going to ask these questions of our audience. We're going to give them a moment to respond to that. And then this panel is going to discuss what they're talking about and what our perspectives are on it. Does that make sense? Yeah. So for each of these, I'm just going to go through very quickly so you can see it. You've got the priorities that we're covered off. And then we're on to progress. And then we've got the questions around progress. And you can see there, Rebecca, yourself, Erica's leading that panel. And then there's yourself, Ritu, Tanya, and Jody on the call. Jim, I've got you on the first panel here, looking at priorities and your perspectives on that.
See that?
Yeah, and I've got Kalpesh, I've got you on there as well, because I think, you know, with the industry knowledge you guys have got, it's a good conversation to have. Kalpesh, is that good? Is he dropped off?
No, he's put his thumbs up.
It's on mute.
Yeah.
No, I'm still here. I'm still listening.
Good.
So
this is the only way I can stay quiet. I go on mute.
Yeah, it's all right. Did that make
Ian,
sense? Go on.
I'm sorry. Are you going to send this to us, or if not?
Yeah. Yeah, you're all going to get this in advance. Yeah, there's a bit more besides. So once we've done that, you say we go through these questions, the progress, the challenges, and finally the remedies. And Jim and Kalpesh, I've got you on the remedies with Rebecca as well. So we've got 3 of us on the team on that one. And Nick, look at that. I couldn't have done that better, could I? I put on the last one.
Nice job.
Where have I got Nick on earlier as well? I've got Nick, and Nick, I've got you on the challenges as well to talk about the challenges, because I thought because of your experiences, that might be a good fit. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, you can put me wherever you want in this. I'm happy to help and contribute.
Great stuff. Thanks, buddy. Thank you for that. Right. So when we get to the end of this, we're going to talk about next steps, and we've broken it down into 5 big chunks. We're looking at objectivity and maturity, the redesign of behaviors, recruitment and attracting talent, well-being and retaining talent, learning, improving, and measuring. And Rebecca, I honestly think that the measurement is going to be the most difficult one, to be honest, in this whole topic. But Jim, I have to say, with you nodding your head, I think we've got some ideas. Well, me and Rebecca have got some ideas around that. We're gonna see if we can start persuading people that they need to do it a slightly different way.
That will be interesting.
And bear in mind as well, this is obviously skewed more towards a UK European audience, this one. We know, Rebecca, from being out in CWS, Jim and I, that the conversation is a different conversation in North America to Europe. Obviously the same goals, same ambitions, but the interpretation of language and the kind of attitudes around disorders and disabilities, it creates new dynamics into the conversation. So I think what we have to recognize is, in North America, we are going to bring this to the table in a slightly different flavor, probably to accommodate the differences that we see between the European and North American. But I don't think there's that much difference, if you see what I mean, with the fundamentals. Okay. So the other thing that we've done, and guys, you may or may not know, is we've built a maturity assessment on the website. Now, the reason we're doing that is we immediately want to get down to baselining and benchmarking. So we've got a baseline tool. It's quite primitive. I say that in terms of probably good things rather than bad, because of course, if we make it too complicated, people won't fill it in at all, And what we've tried to do is to hit the high points on this. So for everybody on the call, you can certainly have a go at that, but obviously we'd welcome appreciate your input on that in terms of how could we improve it? Are we missing points? What do we need to do better? Nick, on your perspective, we'd love to get your perspectives on it. And as you've kind of experienced a lot of these things internally to your business, to see, how you feel about it. What do you think about the maturity assessment that we've done, and whether parts of it are helpful in terms of, sparking conversations, as it were. Okay. So that's something that we've done. The other thing that we're developing for Q1 of 2024 is the 5 Smiles cultural health rating, so that we can actually certify organizations for their cultural health. And then organizations can use their badge of honor to promote that to their candidates. I suspect, Nick, you'd get your 5 stars anyway, but anyway, the thing is, there is no independent mechanism of accreditation for cultural health, and that again becomes a measurement problem, because people like to carry this stuff on their sleeve nowadays, and there isn't really a way to do that. So we're looking to fill that gap. We're trying to do it properly, as always, and to make sure that it's a realistic, genuine, and authentic test, and it actually brings real value, but also it's independent. So we've been working on that for about 6 months now, still having arguments behind the scenes about it, but we're getting there. So I'm expecting by Q1 of 24, we'll have that in place as well. And again, this is really about baselines and credentials and what happens next. But really the message that we put in here is that the next step is for you to get intent and budget. Let's be honest. I mean, nothing happens unless organizations put some money and effort behind it and commitment behind it. They're not going to get that unless they build some baselines of where they are today, because obviously if you don't measure where you are today, you can't measure the improvement. So you've got to start there. And I think most organizations have yet to define a baseline for cultural health, and inclusion. So I think there's a conversation around that, about how we do that, but equally, hopefully we do a good job of it. And obviously in the backlinks, we've got all the links back to the things that we're doing through the UWI. And I'll just explain all of that in a minute. But I want to talk to you about 2 other things. We've got a marketplace. So anybody's got something to sell that links back to neurodiversity, neuroinclusivity, diversity and inclusivity, culture, we are happy to promote good stuff. as long as it is good stuff and it doesn't bring our organization into disrepute because it doesn't work or it's incomplete or you're told a lie. But what it does do is it hopefully connects our audience to interesting people, interesting skills, interesting resources. And you can see what we're doing here is we're actually building profiles out for all the organizations that we are working with, even with spelling errors that we will fix by the time we get to Tuesday. So we're building this out. Now, one of the things that we are doing, Rebecca, that I wanted to talk to you about is the Tilt initiative that we're working on, which I haven't got here, but I will share with you. But basically, we're looking at a very basic transformation model as a framework that we can actually get consultants like yourself to help organizations to implement. Are you with me? So we're not tying your hands as such, but what we are doing is we are framing out a good practice framework that people can work to, and then consultants like yourself can help organizations to interpret their needs and interpret that framework and apply your skills, your knowledge, your tools into that. But then it allows us to project it as a product through the UWI as a methodology, whereas otherwise we're just basically saying, go talk to these consultants.
Right. No, I got you.
So I'll talk you through the framework of that, but it's not going to tie your hands. Kalpesh, you might want to get involved in this as well if it's something you find interesting. But essentially, I think the biggest requirement in the marketplace at the moment is people to take these boys and girls through the door together in the right direction to get them to that point-to-point outcome that they're looking for, you know, and that's a consultative job.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've then done is I've set up little profiles. Look at this. How about it? So everybody gets a profile. Now, the thing is, we want you to be able to write your own profile. So we've put stuff in that we've got, but that's just a straw man. We'd obviously appreciate it if you can update and own your own profile. So I'll send these out afterwards. You can put links in, Rebecca, you even put your book on there if you want to. That'd be nice. And also the accreditations. Now, obviously, if everybody is registered up as a fellow or an ambassador in the case of Jim's case, we'll put the badges on. But basically what Eric and I have agreed, if people are not registered by the time we do the event, we'll be taking the badges off because we don't want to be projecting people as a fellow of the Institute if they've not registered as a fellow of the Institute and they're not on the hub. Okay, so that's quite important. Now, in terms of does that make sense? So you've got a little profile there. Now, what is nice about this is when you get onto the hub, it comes up with the uwi.com members / and it gives you your nice own personal profile. And that's a dedicated URL. So people can go directly to your URL on the UWI hub. Any articles and content and groups that you're a part of, they will connect into. Okay. So just to walk you around very quickly the hub, just so you know what we're doing and why we've got it. Let me just do that. Right. Okay. So on the hub, you click onto the hub here, onto the on the main website. Now you'll see at the bottom, as you go through here, it says, if you want to go to activities, jump to the feed. If you want to find people, click on there. If you want to be seen, you can actually go to see how your profile is being used. And if you want to find friends and meet people, you can look at the membership. Now, if I go onto this membership here, what you'll see is all of the members are listed out and you can add them as a friend. Okay. So that's all been set up. It's all active now. So if I go onto my own profile, I can sort of see my profile. I've got a profile picture and I've got the friends and groups that I belong to, and I can actually send invitations directly from here to other people to say, hey, join the hub. Okay. So it's a good way of socializing. Now, the one thing that you do get with this is you get the activity, the ability to send posts as you do with LinkedIn. But what it doesn't do, it It doesn't produce articles. However, we've got a free membership for everybody with 2-minute reads, which is this platform, so that when you actually go into 2-minute reads, you get a free space to produce articles, have your articles linked to your brand, so you can create your own brand on here. The groups that you see in the hub are also on here. Okay, so you can have group conversations, and this is a free blogging platform. But it works on 400 words. So if you have more than 400 words to say in your article, you attach another document or a video or anything else. But to be honest, if you can't say it in 400 words, you probably can't say it. So once you've got your article, it publishes as a URL, and then you can take that URL and you can publish it straight back into your post, into your article post. Okay. So that means any articles you want to write, it's a free journey, free ride on 2-minute reads. Publish your article. It goes through social media through 2-minute reads. You can share it on LinkedIn like you can with any other article, but also you can put it on here. If you prefer to write your articles or blogs, of course, on your own platform and own website, you can do that. Okay, but I'm just making sure that anybody that hasn't got a platform for blogging has got one for free. Okay, so that's all been done. Now, in terms of the next actions on this, what we've been working on is some budgeting hints and tips that we're going to be sending out over the next 3 months to all of the HR leaders and strategists that we're in contact with. We've got about 2,000 decision makers that we're tapped into now. So I'm not sure that's amazing, but it's probably not too bad. But what we'd like is your input on these documents as well as a community, so that we can get them better than they are. And we can make sure that things that you think are important are represented in this conversation that we're having with the decision makers. Okay. And what we will obviously be keen to do is to link back to the forum, the hub, the research documents, the groups that we're working on, so people can gain access to the resources and the partners and the marketplace that they need as they move forward. Okay. So let me just go back to our event on Tuesday. So really the objective we've got, as I say, for this event is to start the conversation. The main conversation is actually setting the stall out for the budgets for 2024 and what conversations need to be had. It's a way for us to look into where are people today in their maturity, what are their priorities, what are their challenges, so that can actually shape our thinking in terms of what we need to focus on. And the opportunity, hopefully, for conversation happens once we've had some feedback from our audience to bring it back to the panels to discuss it with the panelists, you good guys here.
Ian, how much time are you allotting for each of the individual discussions?
I think, Jim, because we've got 4, we're looking at 20 minutes of conversation on each of the topics over an hour and a half. So very little of this time is going to be spent upon the introductions. I'm going to speed through that. Very little time is going to be on the response mechanism, because it's very quick. You know, it doesn't take long for somebody to click a button and give an opinion. So that's instant as well. So really, the reason I've got this an hour and a half, Jim, is I want to devote as much time to allow people to share ideas, express opinions, give opinions. Okay. Now, Erica and the team back at base, once we've got all this stuff, we'll be splitting it all out into its little fragments so we can spray it across social media. We'll be picking up the topics and building topic-based video and conversations around it. And again, for each of you here, Nick, I'm also sort of pointing this perhaps more directly at you. We want to know as an organization, what can we do to bring the best possible value to all of our stakeholders? You know, so you know, if we can do something to progress your activities, your business, your interests, we want to know what those things are so that we can help to do that, because this is a social enterprise. We're not doing it for the money. We're doing it because we want to progress these initiatives. And part of that is to build this community out and make it a great community to get problems solved. But that is the point. This is about solving problems. It's not a talk shop. All it is that we know is the people like yourselves around the table have got the answers, but we just need to get those answers to the right ears. All right. Does that, let me just raise the point. Are any questions now in terms of the technology? Everybody should have an invite for Tuesday if they're not going to be in the room. So have you got an invite from Zoom? Can I just check? Yeah.
Yes.
Or nods. Kalpesh, have you got one? Kalpesh, are you coming in the room, or are you going to be on the online?
I'm there. I'm going to be live.
You are,
live in
yeah,
person.
yeah, great. Okay, so I'm hoping that you would be. That would be great. I've got some interesting people, Kalpesh, for you to meet, so that would be really good from a UK market perspective. So yeah, so obviously what will happen is we're going to start the call early. Okay, so at 1:45, because I don't trust any technology at all. So at 1:45, we'll be starting the call. We've got a new mic for the room, so that we can make sure we can hear everybody. We've got a good camera for the room, so we should be able to make sure that we can do the hybrid stuff quite well. I think we've covered all the bases off. We'll find out on Tuesday in this kind of new hybrid world of ours. But all of the resources we will be publishing, I say, after the event. And if there are specific bits that you guys want for your own marketing, for your own activities that you found interesting, then again, all you need to do is to reach out to Erica and myself, and we'll spin it across on a WeTransfer with the bits that were interesting to you, and you can actually frame that out for your own marketing. Okay. Any other questions? I hope you're going to find it interesting.
No, I think this sounds amazing. Can you all kind of summarize? I think I wrote down 6 different things that you're like, and I'd like you to check out, and I'd like you to give us feedback on, and I'd like you to, so I have like, you know, the assessment, the marketplace, the profile.
It's quite a lot. Okay, so
if you can just like be like, hey, everybody, like if you can do these 4 things before.
That's a great one. That's a great one, Rebecca. Thank you. So yeah, let's start it from the top. If you've not already registered as a fellow, make sure you're registered. Jim, you are already on. I know that you're already in there, but you need to update your profile. Then secondly, on the hub. So if you're on the hub, you will be on the hub if you're registered as a fellow. If you're on the hub, you need to update your picture, and it would be good to, you know, post an activity on there about something that you're interested in or what you're doing, so people know that you're actually alive on there. Once you're on a fellow and a hub, then obviously you can start to look into the resources. The obvious one is the maturity assessment, because that's a baseline that we've got. And if you guys say, God, Ian, Erica, this is rubbish, well, we'll change it, because we can do that. But we need to know what you don't like about it or what's missing in order to improve it. What I can say is we're finding the results quite interesting about what people are saying about, you know, their analysis. And I think it will improve over time. But essentially, I don't think there is a maturity assessment that people can get through in a reasonable space of time as a starter for 10. And I think that's really important. If we're going to start moving this forward, we've got to measure it in every area. So yeah, number 1, the fellows. Number 2, get onto the hub. Number 3, have a look at the maturity assessment. Let us know what you think. And then there's more stuff coming, but we've got these documents, haven't we? We've actually got this one, which we're putting through. So to update your profile on here, if it's something you want to sell in the marketplace, then let us know, and we'll put one of those in as well. I'll send you the templates after this meeting. Put your links on there onto the profile as well, your personal links, to make sure you're marketing yourselves well. So that bit's then done. We've then got what happens between now and 2024 in the document. So we'll be sharing with you that kind of initial consultation document. But it is literally a straw man. If people think it's rubbish, again, let us know why you think it's rubbish. We'll discuss it and we'll change it. But what we do want to do as the UWI is to project to HR leaders, hey, here's some slides you can put in your deck to persuade your boss that you need to do something differently next year.
Yeah, so I have both on that part, review of kind of the budgeting input, et cetera, right, that you're just talking about, but then also the transformation model that you were talking about as well.
So the tilt model is a kind of a separate one, Rebecca, because not everybody's going to be interested in that, but certainly for you and perhaps for Kalpesh, it's going to be an interesting conversation to have. well, it will be an interesting conversation, but I think what I should do is take that one offline, because I think we could treat this tilt model as a separate conversation for a different time. Let's get the other side of the 10th, and we'll come back on that particular one in more detail. Is that okay?
I was going to say, you've got, I mean, look, I love the ambition that you've got in about trying to get everything done. But if there was, I'm a very simple guy at heart, as you probably worked out already. If there was one thing we left that room, or that virtual room on Tuesday, having got the message out and made one impact, what would it be? What's the one thing
assessment? The very first thing we want people to do is to baseline where they are. Now, the thing is that if we could get a baseline, and we could get 100 organizations on that baseline, what a conversation that is to begin with, you know. But unless there's a baseline, you can't sell it to your management team. And of course, the first thing that's going to happen, Kalpesh, is I'm going to get Airbus saying, well, if I do this assessment, can I benchmark against my peers? It's, well, not unless they complete the assessment. You know,
so that was actually going to be my, strangely, that was my next question, saying, once you've done all this benchmarking, surely the next thing's got to be, do you want to see how you're compared with? Yeah.
Absolutely right. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of this stuff. I mean, I know from experience, and I don't know what everybody else's experience is of employee surveys, you know, and you do these engagement surveys pretty much every year with a kind of an IBM survey system that was built in the 1980s. And you get the response, but you actually try and fill it in. You think there's not a single question here that I want to answer. It's not asking me anything about the questions I really want to feed back on to my company, you know. So I think Kalpesh, the maturity model, when we're talking about the maturity of cultural health, is one thing, but I think there are other models as well as we move forward that we can really put a lens on and say, this is rubbish. This really is.
I suppose that the reason why I asked that question was that if the maturity model is our baseline and our true north, if we don't do anything else on that day, but we have 100 people fill in the so just try and just on a slide deck, try and get it on every slide deck. Don't forget to fill this in. Here's a link. Because you're right. If we have that, the data we'll get from it will be invaluable.
Yeah, and I think it will come out of the conversation anyway. Ultimately, I hope it will. I'd encourage you guys to discuss it, because I think measurement is a big thing. You know, I think really, Rebecca, particularly on the cultural health thing, we're talking about health and measure. You've got to measure it, you know. And if
I'm having there's so much here. You know, I mean, so many of the organizations that I work with do some type of engagement survey, and a lot of them are moving towards much better surveys, like working with companies like Culture Amp, that are getting to some of these topics that are a lot more relevant and very data based. But you know, so there's a survey fatigue going on, and that's something that we're going to have a huge barrier with here. The other piece is, and this is just like quick thoughts because I haven't looked at it yet, obviously. You know, we're asking them to do basically like a self-assessment, right? Like, which is very different than an employee survey where you're getting data from employees to actually tell you how it really is on the day-to-day, right? So it can be positioned a little bit differently of like, you know, like perspectives from leadership, right, around how they view their organizational health around these topics, right, which is different than an employee engagement survey where you're getting, so it's almost like the first step to open the door in order to get in and then get more data, right, in someone's organization. So the positioning could be a little bit different so that they're not feeling like, well, we already do an engagement survey, we already do, you know what I mean? This is like, hey, we're trying to get a bird's eye view of like what, you know, leadership's perspective is of cultural health around this topic. You know, so that's exactly right. Open the door to the conversation.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think also we've, you know, you're right. There is a survey fatigue out there. It really, really is. But also, what I am finding is when you have the conversation with an HR leader or a chief exec or you know, somebody that's very senior in a business, and you say, well, how are you going to do it? There's a pause and a gap. That, you know, there isn't a plan.
Everybody asks for data, and we need data. So no, by no means am I saying we don't like this is key. It's absolutely key to do this. I was also and I don't think this is possible, but I was like, because it's just going to create a barrier, but I was like, can it be like almost like as a precursor to joining this conversation, you need to fill out this, you need to take this survey, because we want to understand like where everyone is before we even start the conversation. Like we want to be able to say, I mean, it's too late to do this right now, but I'm just thinking about like, future things. It's like, hey, like we want to know where everybody is in order to have this conversation. So literally as like a registration requirement, take this 5-minute survey on your, I don't know how long the survey takes, but
literally, I think it's less than 2 minutes. Actually, it's literally that quick.
But that's not even, I mean, do you know what I mean? That's not actually it'd be like, hey, we want you to be part of this conversation. As part of it, we're surveying everybody before they come in order to like say, like, this is the real data on this group of people, that we surveyed. I don't know. So it's something that is interesting. If it's
absolutely. I think first of all, we are doing a lot of bases because we're trying to fix things, and we're starting with what we know, what people know that connect to us. We're going to make mistakes, but we're not going to improve unless somebody does put their head up and try and do something and make a mistake. So we've just got to be humble enough to say, look, we've probably got this wrong, but it's the best we can do. So for example, we're working on flashcards at the moment for each one of these topics. So if somebody's got Asperger's, autism, Tourette's, we want to know on a single side of A4, what can you inform a hiring manager or a department manager about this type of personality and how to live and breathe with them? That is proving exceedingly difficult to do, not because it's quite straightforward, write it on a piece of A4 paper, but actually by trying to put all of that complexity into a piece of A4 paper for a community that lives and breathes this on a daily basis, you're asking them to kind of cut off the majority of their body and just leave you with the foot. And of course, we're saying, well, that's the space you've got. That's as much conversation as you've got. So if you want to put some links on the bottom, that's fine by me. But we are working still, and we won't give up. We will end up with a set of flashcards because it is the simplest and most effective communication methodology to actually pass on knowledge to a group of people who have no understanding of this subject whatsoever. So I think, Rebecca, on all of these things, it's all a starter for 10. And Kalpesh, back to your point, you say, well, where's the starting for this? We obviously want to get people onto the hub. We want people to be joining the UWI conversation and from different directions. That's an objective. But the problem does not get solved until we start measuring where people have got to. So that's got to be where we start. Erica, any thoughts on this?
No, I mean, I think there is the option to send out, I don't know whether it's too late in the day, but to send out the maturity score app to the people who are registered for attending, and see if we get anything back in the short time that we have until then.
Well, we could do. I'm just a bit nervous about giving too much away to begin with for this particular event, because we've got quite a small community here. We've probably got about 25-30 people that we're looking to talk to. Now, the good thing is they're quite high caliber people. So we're talking about 2 million people being represented through those kind of 25-30 people. And again, it's a workshop. If I had more than 25-30 people on it, it might prove quite challenging for us to actually even manage this. But at the same time, I think at the moment, Erica, I think I'd rather get through the content and then feed it in afterwards as an action point, as Kalpesh suggests. Whatever happens from this event, I suppose the good news is we're going to take away a recording of this. I'm going to get some good content from the fantastic people we've got around the panel. We have really got an exceptionally high performing panel here. In any industry, I've not really seen as high a standard of knowledge and expertise. So it's really, as I say, very humbling to have you lot together on this sort of call, because I think we've got a sensationally good quality panel. It's covering a lot of the bases, lots of dimensions, and I think it's going to be a fantastic conversation on Tuesday, whatever happens. All right. Guys, I think you can tell from all of that, we are energized to do a good job of this for you next year. We will be pushing this all the way through the next 12 months. Whether we can afford to do it any beyond that, we'll let you know, see how it goes. If people don't part with any cash, it might be slightly more challenging. But nevertheless, I think over the next 12 months, we'll certainly make some waves across this industry and do something about it. All right. If you got any last minute questions once we've sent all the stuff across, obviously just get back in touch with us. We're around on Monday and we'll obviously be around on Tuesday morning. So we're all good to go. Rebecca, sorry, it's like early morning for you. Not much to do about that.
I'm used to it. That's the price you pay for living in paradise.
Yeah. All right, guys and girls, have a great weekend and we'll get this material across to you in the next hour or so.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Ian.
Thank you.
Thanks, Erica.
Thanks now. Nice to meet you, Nick.
Bye.
Cheers now. Yeah, bye-bye.